All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the Manatraders series. My name is Corey Baumeister. That's on a Rakdos, and we're going to be, dang it, every time,
Yeah, I was gonna
every
say.
time. We're going to be bringing you coverage all day here. We're about heading to round 6 of 9. Nice. And we're going to be bringing you a heck of a match here. We're going to have defending champion Dom Harvey playing up against Twinless Twin. So this is going to be Rakdos mid-range against Murktide. This matchup's always extremely close, and two really good pilots, both at 5-0. So really impressive stuff here, Anurag.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, earlier we got to see Twinless Twin play against was it Indian Pancake on Hammer, and
Yep.
that's another battle of the maestros. And so this continuing the series, I just want to see high level Magic. I can't ask for more, any less. Magic is
Yep.
still great, but when you see like the people who have built the deck and pioneered, innovated the deck, or when you players who are just like as good as Dom Harvey, it's gonna be great no matter what. So
100%. Yeah. And Rakdos scam up against Murktide. It's always close. There's always that tension point, but looking at some of the other players that are five wins here, we have Mateus Leverato on Living End. We have 5-color Omnath, 2 Murktide, 2 Creativities, and then 1 Scam. So still a plethora of different decks, and then a ton of players that are still in it. 4 wins. So still some pretty good stuff. Sounds like the match has begun. Let's head on in to round number 6.
all right. Looks like Twinless Twin has won the die roll here, playing the Is It Murktide deck. And honestly, in this kind of matchup, I have to imagine the die roll does matter just a decent bit, given that both players have a lot of very, very early turn plays that can impact the texture of the game here. Looking at Twinless Twin's hand, you see a couple lands, spells, including Consider, and I believe Spell Pierce. And then on the other side, we see a lot more action. Dom's got a great 7 here. Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, 2 copies of Grief, a Dothi Voidwalker, and then the requisite lands. Talk to me about Twinless Twin's hand. First, let's start there. Is that that can't be a keep, can it?
Honestly, I think both of them are fine, but both of them are pretty medium. I mean, these are not strong hands from either player, so I could see either one of them shipping it back. But here's another one of the cases when you're on the play and when you're up against another Rakdos Scam, aka Thoughtseize matchup, you keep a lot more hands because you really do have the fear of that. And it looks like Twinless Twin was already on a mulligan, so you definitely have to keep that on 6, even though
Okay.
it looked pretty bad.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense here. Going down to 5 cards left over in hand, and I mean you got the Spell Pierce. You can trade that with potential turn 1, Feign Death or Thoughtseize or this or that, and then go from there. So
Yeah, and that was the best possible. I mean, if Dom had perfect information, he would have slammed that Regavan, no questions asked. But they of course do not. And now Twinless Twin can at least consider for some answers to some of these next threats. But yeah, it about the best possible for Twinless there so far.
yeah, so Black Cleave Cliffs is the top deck here. That's going to immediately come into play, and Dothi Voidwalker is the turn 2 play. So this is kind of interesting because I was looking at the hand and I was like, oh, Dothi Voidwalker. No way, I'm dashing Ragavan. What's the line behind playing the Dothi Voidwalker here instead?
Just really recognizing that that card has to be dealt with first. And if Regavan's the last threat to resolve, most of the time, it can just absolutely take over. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty close either way.
Okay. Yep. No, makes a lot of sense here. And I mean, in the earlier games where we had Rakdos scam in play on the feature match, we have seen. Okay. Wow. This is interesting. So now we're playing Grief here. We have seen, the shadow mechanic really help deliver the last few points of damage or threaten a lot. So this card is no joke even by itself. I'll put it that way.
100%. Yeah, it's a very dangerous card right now. Something I never want to see, from any of the breach sides. And just 2 mana, 3/2 that maybe can do some other stuff is already plenty fine when it has shadow attached to it.
All right, so Twinless Twin has a pair of Mishra's Baubles. Uh, Fortunately, we'll be able to cycle those. They do get exiled thanks to the Dothi Voidwalker, but
Yeah, and you just gotta play them, gotta sack them.
exactly, just got to get through it. Can't go over or under it.
Yeah, that grief was really pretty smart there from Dom. Because that Murktide would have been, yeah, 6 power creature would have been really tough to deal with.
And now it gets tricky too, right? Because Dom's seeing the hand, sees that there's basically nothing left, so the green light is up. It's time. It's time to go do some monkey business, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Drew the extra cards off the baubles though, so there will be some consideration and some ability to find a lightning bolt here or there, but if you don't find it, connecting against Murktide is great. There's so many 1-drops that are good if you hit it, and there's 0-drops you can hit. The only kind of dead cards are basically Murktide for now, but at points it can be live as well.
Yeah, some consideration, some iteration. There's a lot of digging that we can do, but right now, as it stands, this Ragavan appears to be connecting. Actually, crazy kind of question. There's no world where you ever cycle the fiery islet, right?
Not when you have consider, but if you didn't, you have to stop Ragavan in some ways. So, considering for a red removal spell here is definitely something worth doing.
Okay, interesting. We have a thinker here. Okay, so consider goes to exile. We looks like we kept a card on top then, and we do that. Actually, that's okay. Okay, so spell snare gets exiled to the Ragavan. That doesn't do too much here.
Nope.
And unironically, that's not even a good draw. So this Ragavan is actually helping out Twinless Twin a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And the expressive iteration going to be cast by Twinless Twin is going to be nice for next turn. And then you can even have counterspell backup to be able to counter Ragavan when it comes down again. So not so bad. We'll see what this iteration finds.
What is a little bit concerning is that if you use expressive iteration here, right, the Dathi Voidwalker can sacrifice itself to basically steal the iteration, and then both players are iterating, and that's where things get interesting. I've never really seen the Rakdos deck do that kind of stuff, and it terrifies me.
Me neither, because most of the time they really need to, be just attacking. But yeah, it's definitely something that can come up. Good call.
All right, double counterspell in hand, and Dash Ragavan coming into play now off the expressive iteration. Gonna sneak in, or attempt to sneak in.
Yeah, Dom's got to be happy about that. Being able to push that and then get his own Ragavan through, leaving Twinless with just 2 counter spells. Yeah, that is excellent there. Drew the Murktide at least for next turn, but all advantage here to Dom Harvey.
And surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, the Murktide region is actually still a decent draw here, right? Because
yeah.
You have 4 instants and or sorceries in the graveyard, Unholy Heat to pick up off the Ragavan trigger, and that is, enough to stabilize the board to some degree.
Yeah, definitely to a minor degree, because it only stops Ragavan, but it's a start. If you can find a removal spell with it, oof. Yeah, you might have to sack Fiery Island now. Try to find a Lightning Bolt to pair with this Murktide. That's really all you got.
Well, how about another expressive iteration?
Yeah, I think it's probably better than just playing Murktide with Dom being at 19, but maybe not. Or you just, you Murktide this turn. Yeah, okay, I like it. You get to Murktide this turn. You can just sack Misty, just take 1, get a Steam Vents into play. Then expressive next turn and try to find, I would say bolt, but you won't have enough red. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's enough as it stands.
To make things even worse, looks like Dom has also drawn Undying Malice, so that'll protect one of the Dathi Voidwalkers. So it's not good. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's looking real good here, and I don't even know what you can really do at this point.
I don't think there are any sweepers in the main deck. I'm thinking like Brotherhood's End and cards like that might take care of a bunch of low power creatures, but
yeah, nope, not usually in the list, at least in the main deck. And yeah, there goes game number 1 to Dom at 5-0. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, one step closer to making that top 8. And honestly, with his skill set and at the rate that he's crushing right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see it. But talk some sideboards if we have any options to look at the Murktide deck. And I think we've talked about this briefly before, Corey, but give me a refresh here. What exactly are we looking for in terms of sideboard cards to bring in this matchup? What's good?
Yeah, from the Murktide side, I'd be bringing in probably some more removal. Maybe that Fury, the Season Pyromancer, a Braid seems decent. Just basically anything that kills a Grief that gets scammed out, anything that kills Ragavan. You got to pass that Ragavan test as much as possible. But outside of that, nothing looks amazing. We
Let
have
me
been
ask you a
seeing. Yeah, go ahead.
toughie. I've got a toughie for you, and that is, how
All
do you
right.
feel about minor misstep in this matchup?
I mean, I think we've seen Twinless bring it in so far, but it hasn't looked amazing at any point. I'm not a big fan of that card in general,
Hmm.
but Twinless definitely knows his deck a lot better than I do. And we do see that one of Night's Whisper coming in from Dom. Love it.
I am a huge fan of that. Oh, this has actually a really good point, right? Because we were talking about, like, on the play versus on the draw. How
Yeah,
does Night's Whisper factor? And it looks like Dom just wants it all the time, every time, every day, everywhere.
pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, it really does seem like that.
And somewhat of a slow start here from both sides. A couple removal spells and a Murktide Regent on the Twinless Murktide side of things, and then on Dom's side, double Terminate, double Pyromancer, and then the Night's Whisper.
Yeah.
So Dom definitely gearing up for the long game, and
And so is Twinless, to be honest. They're
yeah,
both really like, I want to react to the other person. And normally that's really great. Great plan. But when you're both doing that, cards like Season Pyromancer look amazing.
absolutely, yeah. I
Like
think that's kind
if
of
he
a
goes for it, which I think he will, it's just great. I mean, this is the type of hand that just kind of needs to jam. Dom's probably thinking there's no way this first one's gonna resolve, but it actually would.
I also like this too, right? Dom not playing the Night's Whisper on turn 2, even though you could, you drop to 8 cards, you'd have to discard and then
Yeah,
sort of just like defeat the purpose of the card. And so playing it slowly, smartly.
yeah, agreed. You definitely just don't want to discard.
Okay.
Another Murktide picked up. Pretty terrible draw.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Dom has Ragavan, and what's interesting here is Dom fetching means most likely we're going to see Season Pyromancer come into play here, and I'm a huge fan of this play. I think one thing that isn't really discussed about is like how to read what's in your opponent's hands. And based
Mhm.
off the fact that, uh Twinless Twin has done nothing for turns 1, 2, and 3 except for play Mishra's Bauble, indicates a very reactive hand. And while Ragavan maybe has higher upside, uh certainly Seasoned Pyromancer is a more stable line that plays around any sort of counter
Spot
magic.
removal. Yeah,
Yeah,
mostly
exactly.
spot removal. Spot removal had to been the number one thing on Dom's mind. So that Season Pyromancer resolving through a counter spell or anything like that ends up being awesome. And here we see just a baby Murktide because, yep, you got too many of them. Might as well. Dom's pretty okay with that with a bunch of Terminates.
And based on the way this game is playing out right now, absolutely excited to see um, tech cards like Knight's Whisper and, just also powerful cards like Terminate succeed. Because what I was really expecting was kind of a bloodbath, like, oh, Grief gonna discard some cards, bring it back with, Feign Death or something like that. But instead, this has been a glacial game. Like, I
Oh,
thought,
yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. And now that Dom knows that the coast is, air quotes clear, like now these season pyromancer, these Night's Whispers look so good up against, just the face of 3 red removal spells. So
All right, an aggressive cycle here for Fire Islet. Going to find Murktide number 3 alongside a land and just passing the turn here.
yeah, and just looking great here for Dom so far. Like, I've never been the biggest Rakdos scam fan, to be fair, but Dom is making this look pretty good, I must say. This deck looks like it's actually pretty well positioned right now. I mean, if it beats Murktide, which it's kind of seemed like it's a pretty good one so far, especially with 3 Terminates in the main.
Okay. Bolt
Bolt
you.
you. Take that.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh, that was a big draw.
Oh my
Murktide with
goodness.
counterspell up? Is if this 6/6, okay, it is one short from being like super ideal, but there's not a great answer to both of these. You're probably gonna see end step terminate, and then Dom's gonna get the bad news.
So there are a couple outs here, but we know Dom's got.
Oh my god! Not only sorry to interrupt you, but Dom had to have the foresight to like hope to draw grief or Thoughtseize here, and to not fire off that terminate. I'm firing off that terminate basically every time into just a random card there. Wow, what a draw!
My jaw is just on the floor right now. Like
Yeah,
that kind of knowledge, like to analyze the play pattern and be like, you know what? There's probably a counterspell here. I'm just gonna wait. Like not in a million, billion, trillion years would I do something like that. So
that was a masterclass. I agree. I wasn't waiting there either. I was terminating that for sure. So nice play from Dom Harvey.
now, Season Pyromancer probably one of the better draws here. Interestingly enough, we didn't cast the Unholy Heat on the Elemental token, but instead we have now Unlicensors, which is a great pickup here, being able to stop Season Pyromancer of Doms and potentially
Yeah,
cards of the
absolutely.
same nature.
Nice pickup there. And yeah, you kind of just you either get rid of Unholy Heat to make sure you draw extra cards, or you get an elemental of your own, and then it's kind of like trading for it already. So here's this with a bunch more cards in hand, but nothing amazing. And yeah, I picked up a couple more lands. That was as much of a dud as it could be to let Twinless Twin kind of back in this game. Wow, what a back and forth.
Yeah, it's crazy too, right? Because we've seen Twinless Twin draw some pretty bad stinkers here, and now Dom's just like, hold my beer, I got you on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna draw worse than you, I promise. Spell Snare being one of the worst draws possible.
I love it. They're just like in the mud right now, flinging dirt at each other, and it's just like, I want to know what is going to happen. How are we going to resolve this?
Yeah, and you pretty much have to block there. There's no great turn where you can block with Season Pyromancer, and then Fang Death it, because then Unlicensed Hearse can eat it in response. That's the play Dom would have loved to do, but Fable of the Mirror Breaker being a nice little way to break this game open. Once again, expressive iteration from Twinless Twin is probably exactly what he wants.
Well, what's kind of funny though is that with all three of these Murktide's gone. I don't know if there's a fourth one.
Yeah,
does that mean that?
Not.
Okay, I guess we would have to rely on Dragon's Rage channelers now to really get across in the air, because the ground is sufficiently gummed up.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, you can like unlicense hearse at some point. That has kind of some inevitability, but yeah, I agree. Murktide region is the scary card, and you know, all the terminates are gone too. But when all the Murktides are gone, you don't really care. Fatal Push is just now the better card.
Yep. So actually, from this position, I would personally hazard that Dom is favored. Do you share the analysis, or do you think that it's actually the Murktide deck that might win from here?
No, definitely Dom that's favored right now. This is his game to lose, especially with Chapter 2 of Fable coming, where you're able to pitch Swamp and Fang Death, which are both basically dead. Dom's drawing 3 cards next turn, has the better battlefield, has less life, you know, so I mean that is the tension point, but outside of that, everything in Dom's favor I hear so far. Gonna be Twinless' job to draw something big.
And you know, I was gonna say like, oh, we're playing red, we're playing burn, we can just go bolt to the face to win the game here. But Twinless Twin has already used 2 copies of Lightning Bolt, so it's not even like it's very likely for us to find that burn just willy-nilly there. We're gonna have to dig pretty deep to get it.
Agreed. Not the most reliable threat to find. So I'm with you. It's not gonna be easy. But here is Chapter 2. Can get rid of some cards here. Let's see if you value getting rid of 2 lands or Feign Death as well. You got 3 bad cards there, so wouldn't be too shocked to see 2 lands go to the yard. Yeah, Feign Death is also just really bad too, so another Terminate picked up and another land.
Terminate's really good insurance here. I mean, your hand is so insulated against most cards here that even if nothing is going on, you're still probably pretty happy with like the current board state. And actually, honestly, Dom's board state here with the Fable turning into Reflection the turn after, and then you can copy Seasoned Pyromancer is kind of a massive deal.
Yeah, totally agree. I like the shaman attack. I think that's exactly the attack I would make. Just shaman and then hold everything else back. You kind of want to incentivize an attack with 3 removal spells. Like, you're not that afraid of it. And even if there's just like a double block with the token, pretty happy to fatal push and keep your thing alive as well. So yeah, that's a good attack. That's what I would do. Oof. That is one thing I would not do. Goodbye, Hearse. And now Dom's going to be kicking himself a little bit that he didn't hold on to that Fang Death instead of a land because, well, now it's actually online. It's not great right now, but. All right, 2 fatal pushes cleaning up the Hearse. With 1 terminate for backup, but with that spell snare, it is kind of not necessarily online.
Yeah, this is a really interesting like connection of events, like which threats are lining up with which answers and what's left over. And now, as the dust is settling, we see, Twinless Twin, pretty ahead here in terms of like hand versus hand, spell snare against terminate. But if you look at the board, it's just he's so far behind that.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to come back. Now, honestly, one attack that wouldn't have been terrible there is just attack with all 3 and hope to knock the top of the deck for 1 bolt.
Mm.
But there still could have been the option of playing that. But ooh, big draw step for Dom there. Season Pyromancers all day, and man, has that card looked impressive so far today.
Oh yeah, get rid of the Swamp, get rid of the Bloodstained Mire. We're gonna draw 2 really good spells here. I mean, between Seasoned Pyromancer and Fable of the Mirror Breaker, it just seems like this Rakdos deck has so much. Wow, those are big draws. Has so much, card draw and selection.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. Now we might see a super aggressive attack, maybe just those 2, but yeah, it's just so tough to come back from this situation without any Murktides.
I want to ask you a really tough question. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Who's the beatdown?
Now, definitely Dom. Definitely Dom for sure.
Yeah, it just feels like the way Dom is sideboarded that he's going in with the mindset that maybe he's the control role. I mean, you have a lot of tools.
Yeah, they both switched to that. There's not even many DRCs in Twinless Twins deck in general, so you can tell this version is just already quite controlling. It really is it control with that configuration. And here from Dom, it's just all removal spells and Season Pyromancers and Fables to get across the way. So really interesting configuration.
And especially now, once you untap with the reflection of Kiki Jiki, it's able to activate. You've got some pretty good cards here that you want to clone. Consider is
Yeah, you got to deal with reflection right now. Ooh,
okay. Well,
that's a possibility, but yeah, you cannot let reflection live and expect to win this game. But that's the thing is the feigned death will also, protect it in some weird way.
oh yeah, that is a great question. What is the
Yeah.
rulings interaction between feign death and reflection?
Oh, it comes back as Fable for sure.
Oh no, that's so disgusting.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not immediately getting reflection back, but yeah, cards come back as their front side, and then you get to do it all over again. So,
You just get to keep all the value, huh?
oh yeah, and we're probably gonna see it right here, even on a braid there. But wow, with the braid end bolt, you can actually make sure to for sure deal with it. You might just have to. Three damage to something.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate because this bolt is meant to go face, but it makes me wonder. Like earlier, you were saying, kind of just send all, and then just hope to top deck the lightning bolt, and he actually would have gotten there too. So
Yeah, because that's the thing. He had the spell snare for the terminate. So yeah, I truly think Twinless Twin would have won this game if he would have went for that. Now, granted, it doesn't always work like that. I haven't seen a tap Fable in my life, by the way. And there it is as a +1/+1 counter as well. You get to discard some cards. And yeah, unless there's another bolt on top, or Dom makes some kind of bad attacks, but
I mean, Dom is our Manatraders reigning champion. Him and bad attack shouldn't even be in the same sentence, which I've already done. So now I'm
agreed.
guilty of it too.
Yeah, there you go. Impressive. Immediately says these things in the same sentence.
Yep, just walks into the rake on the floor, hits me in the face.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Well, the Goblin Shamans are entering the red zone at 7 life. We're definitely in the market now to chump block and do things like that. And I think this is it. This is the all-in play. Lightning bolt off the top. One-time dealer kind of deal.
Knock the top of the deck. And yeah, we'll look at the exile of Twinless's twin real quick. Maybe I know we had 2 bolts in there, but is there 3? No. Okay, we're live.
Yeah.
Is that 4th bolt there to send us to a game 3?
Corey, big vibes. We've been through this. We've been through this exact scenario before, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we have. And you know what? I want it. I want it.
Me
this
too.
has been awesome already.
I just want to see it. Cast the bolt on the end step right here, right now. Target Capricioso, and then untap and let it go.
You're not winning in any other way, shape, or form. Like this is your out. You also don't need the mana that much, so you know you can definitely wait and maybe get something else. Nope, I like it. That's to your face. May I untap? Yes.
Now, it was at this moment Dom realized he may have messed up.
All right, here's Fable. Lightning bolt or bust. Is it there?
Iteration? Ledger Shredder. Okay.
No, anticlimactic. That's going to be enough damage to come through for the win. And that's going to be Dom advancing to 6-0 here. And really just 1 win away from assuredly locking it up. When if Dom were to win the next one, you know, being able to start 7-0, whenever you start XO and you have 2 rounds left, that's kind of that magical scenario where it's almost mathematically impossible, but keyword almost. It is still possible. So, you know, yeah. Impressive stuff though.